What's up, everybody? It is GMrDrew here to welcome you to another episode of the Andrew Glashewski Experience. This will be episode, 449. And we're just going to call it netting because that's all I got right now. Gonna work on some netting. Like I said in the last stream when I was working on the concept art here. This stuff right here. As I was working at the end, right here on this stuff, which looks like nothing here, I was like, ooh, that's what I can use that for. So ultimately what's happening is here, let me move this over. There we go. So yeah, man, I had an idea for that, and I wanted to kind of show, include boating and, a boat coming through and all that stuff. And I was kind of like, man, how would a boat dock? What does a marina look like? I mean, this is like seafaring culture. And it's kind of like, think about like that movie Waterworld, if you could remember that, or if you ever saw it. Like, if you remember the bases, the forts, the structures, whatever you want to call them, which is actually a really good question. How do these people do that? They probably like just jerry-rigged an oil rig or something like that to really put those things together. I have to go back and watch that movie and look at the set design. Yeah, I was just thinking about that, and at the end of the stream, like as I was working on this, and I was like, okay, this is gonna like kind of represent like one of the main hubs and main structures there in this string of islands. I was like, how would you interact with that, because it has to be made for like water people, but if it's trade, if there's anything going on with surface people and land people, then yeah, you would have like, you'd have to develop a system like that. And I was just like, man, what would if my kingdom looked like this, how would the moat look? Something like that, you know what I mean? What does the front door look like? What does it look like when people have to enter, you know what I mean? Like, whatever, you're sovereign. So, kind of wanted to draw something. How do I want to do this? I'll probably draw it like this then. There we go. There we go. So it'd be something like this. No, don't come down with it. Alright. So yeah, getting started. Jumping right into it. Starting down here in this corner. So I figure always start with the horizon line whenever I'm working on land. On like an environment sort of thing. Kind of getting a horizon line established. So yeah, man, something I was thinking about with this structure, and in the previous stream I was talking about the movie Up and those buildings. Oh man, what happened here? So I was talking about the movie Up, the rocks and certain rock structures, formations that they had there, as I was working on all this stuff. And I started working on this picture here. And then I had an idea. I'm thinking of a series. Think of a boat. You know what I mean? One of those old ship structures, like an old pirate ship. Even if you think about a yacht nowadays, how yachts structured are like folded on themselves, so that way the buoyancy and the rocking of the boat gets absorbed. Old like pirate ships, the way that they're a little more rigid, but they had these nettings to climb up and down. You know what I mean? It was almost like a ladder system, and I was hoping to be able to apply something like that to this structure. Because what I was thinking was this is an underwater place, and much like all those iceberg things that people have been talking about and doing, uh, this thing would kind of be something like. So now that I'm talking about it, I was like, ooh, maybe I should have drew this like an iceberg. Which is, this is a sketchbook. That's the whole point of all this, is to just kind of throw these ideas down. I still want to get the one in to kind of show any sort of interaction, any sort of like marina lifestyle trade system and import export happening in this place. But also, it's like the thing that I never seen before that I kind of want to capture here is much like that netting on those pirate ships and how that was structured for people to climb up and down the ship. I kind of want to apply that to, let's just call it a landmass. And this landmass would be like something that's afloat, almost like an iceberg, which, those things are floating. They're as big as land masses. Oh my god. And that's how it happens. See what I mean when you just start drawing stuff and then it's like through the motion of drawing these things that like the ideas come. Now it makes sense to me. Now I know exactly what I got to do. I don't want to say it. That's the whole point of this stuff, is to not give away the secrets. I'll give you everything but the answer. You got to come to your own conclusions and your own answers. But yeah, see, I didn't even have the idea until I drew that line. And as soon as I drew that line, I was like, that's what this is. That's what I'm doing. Oh man, this is beautiful now. This is exactly what I needed. Wow, okay. Hell yeah. See, I could work on 2 pictures at once. I was even gonna be like, yo, I don't have that much time today. But let's see if I can like try to get these 2 out. And they'll probably end up being super rough. It's just the way it is. It's something that I'm starting to think about as I'm like drawing all this. I like throwing out clues and things like that as I'm working on things, and it's also to kind of, like I said, this whole live stream thing is for you guys to be able to peer into my mind as I work on this stuff. I wrote a story. It's a very interesting story. I'm trying to put this project together. I need people to be interested. You know what I mean? So if I just gave people the answers, it's interesting, but you could just take the answer and walk away. I would like to think that anybody watching these things that would enjoy watching these things are probably creators themselves and just interested in kind of just learning about other people's creative processes. I mean, that's what I was always into. So something that I'm thinking about as I'm working on this now is Avatar season 3. The air temple, man. Yeah, that air temple that was in the season 3, the fire season or whatever it was. I mean, it might have been the best season. I have a hard time picking between season 2 and 3 of Avatar, but I think I would say 3 is the best. But in season 3 there was a air temple, and they had a guy who was able to bend fire with his mind, and that guy attacked Aang and his crew there. And that, because it was an air temple, the structures were built upside down. And I'll probably have to go back and watch that. See, that's 2 things. I gotta go back and watch Waterworld and that season 3 of Avatar, which I own it. I bought that just because, I mean, you could ask my brother. he'll tell you I watched the hell out of that cartoon, man. Avatar, the I guess the movie also just came out with the Way of Water and all that. Not talking about that Avatar. I'm talking about Avatar: The Last Airbender. Um, yeah, that was definitely watched that show way too much. Just like Cowboy Bebop, you know what I mean? Like one of those shows that I just like just watched over and over and over. In the beginning about the entertainment factor, and then two, because then it was just like, how is it so good? Because you watch it. I watched those shows are so old that I've watched them for so many years that so many other shows have come out, and it's like those shows, Cowboy Bebop and Avatar: The Last Airbender, especially like seasons 2 and 3. The first half of season 1, I would say, is the rough patch, just because it's got to be your typical show to tell typical stories, and you know what I mean. It's all very like you kind of know what's gonna happen because you've seen it in other shows, but every show has to kind of go through those things to show like, hey, we could also tell these stories, but this is a story that we want to tell. So in the beginning of season 1, it was always like every episode was kind of like, like a children's cartoon. But then as the first season went on, it started to like kind of dive deeper into the characters, and then all of a sudden it became a TV show that like separated itself from the rest of them. And yeah, that's I don't know. I don't even know what I'm saying. But yeah, I watched those shows so much for so long that it went from entertainment to study. Um, a lot of other shows have come out since then. A lot of shows don't stack up. Like there's a lot of great shows. I'm not, you know what I mean? Oh, those are the only two shows that are great. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying, there's a lot of great shows. But there's also like a lot of not great shows. Unfortunately, like this one. It only pushes the interest into studying those things more, or to look into them more, or to even just recognize everything that I've like learned from those shows, and refamiliarize myself with them all the time, just because they're that great. So yeah, thinking about Avatar season 3, that air temple, I'm definitely gonna have to like revisit that and watch that. I think it was over the course of a few episodes. I wonder if I think the remake of the shows also covered it. Yeah, see. I'm thinking about the port system that I have in the old map. I'm pretty sure I have that drawn somewhere. Dang. That it might be buried in this book somewhere way back there. But I drew another port for another city in one of my previous ones for this, just other concepts. And it's like, I definitely don't copy that port, which I was just getting ready to do. I was just getting ready to be like, oh yeah, I could just draw that because that's what I know. And so I have to just do it slightly different. And I wonder if that would even help. I mean, this kind of structure is built up that in that direction, so I can kind of just. And this is the thing I was talking about in previous stream when I said I had watched Alvin Lee's old video on drawing comic books and environments and comic books and things like that. I have like almost no interest in drawing environments, but I've kind of forced myself to do them, and then I've kind of learned to love them. You know what I mean? Like it's always interesting, but it's always a struggle to get it started because I don't know. But once I get it started, the artist hand just starts kicking in, and it's like, oh, you could do this, you could do that, you could do this, you could do that. So I think this thing is gonna start slowly coming together. I'm pulling from my reference over here, and the area that I'm drawing specifically. Let's see how far I could zoom in on this map so I can kind of show you from my references. Like, I am literally drawing this. So a while back, like maybe a year ago more, I drew this. And I was like, this is gonna be something. And that's what I'm working on now. So you can see it's like a funky shape island. It's got like a large obelisk in it. Not really anything when I drew it. It was like, it's a nice big gold shiny thing because I'm making everything gold. Every time I'm working on metal, I'm like, okay, it's either white, blue, or gold. Or black. Like, I need to... I guess it's when I work on these concepts, that's when the metal starts to change its actual color and stuff. It's just funny, when I was working on these back then, that's what I just did. This is getting way more interesting the more I'm working on it now. Let me switch up the colors, because like I was saying, I don't have that much time. And I definitely want to be able to return to this and work on it some more. When I started this stream just 24 minutes ago, I had no idea what I was going to be drawing. I was like, I know I need to continue working on the environments because it's such a struggle for me. It's like, oof, you know what I mean? Like, am I going to be working on them? And now that I kind of have these ideas going, and I was just like, oh, I'm happy. This is something new that I didn't have planned, that I can now implement and make it super dope, and just be like, oh, okay, this is cool and amazing. Now this I want to explore more. When I started 30 minutes ago, I didn't have nothing. Now I kind of got a little something going on. See, I kind of really, now that I started too, I kind of really want to get this one down so that way I can kind of understand it, and then I can start attacking it. In order to be able to achieve the look that I want, I'm definitely going to have to like dip into the paint markers to draw over even all these sketch lines that I'm making. Because I could render all this landmass out, put the structure in there and all this other stuff, but it's already... That's why it's so, sometimes when you don't have a solid idea and you just start drawing, things get real sketchy. And that's, personally, I think that's fine. It's just for the sake of clarity, for the sake of being like, hey, I'm trying to at least create the best work that I can in the time that I have to make it. Yeah, I can render this out as much as I need, but I'm definitely going to need to dip into the paint markers, which is going to turn this piece into like a 3-video thing. And by the time I get to the 3rd video working with the paint markers, just planning this out right now, live, I want to make sure that I can remember all the stuff that I'm talking about. Waterworld, you know what I mean? Avatar, The Last Airbender, TLA. Damn, no one, it's never been abbreviated like that. TLA? Did they ever call Avatar Atla? Anybody ever just like shorten it to ATLA? Anyways, Avatar: The Last Airbender Season 3 Temple, as well as dang, what was the other thing I was just thinking about? Oh yeah, and pirate ships. I don't even know if it's just pirate ships. Like I wonder if even like the Royal Navy had like, the ropings and all that other stuff, like how you kind of see typically on pirate ships. Yeah, yeah, this is gonna be super, super cool now. It's so funny. I'm listening to Rory and Mal podcast. They're talking about, if you're dating someone, they just go on a 3 week trip randomly. It's like, all right, like you're not going with them. Who's paying for it? How they paying for it? I mean, these are all legit questions, man. I'm even getting ideas of what I think this entire structure is. It's be pretty wild if I follow through with that sort of idea. I don't even know what to call it. Uh, I'll just call it this. You know, I've been getting so used to scribbling down notes these days because of all the because of the story and stuff. I gotta post what I did today on Patreon. Um, made a few more sketches, a few more posts, push the story a little bit more every day, working on that story. It's it feels so good, man. It feels so good to finally be in this place, in this entire like art journey that I've been kind of putting myself through. Uh, Years ago, when I was like just writing and being like I'm not a writer. How it's gonna take me years to write a story, and then it's gonna take me years to you know what I mean? Like it's just gonna take so much time to do any and all of it. It was so disheartening. Even though I decided to go through with it, it was still like really disheartening back then. Years later, it almost doesn't feel real because I'm still not doing much. I got like, I got a viewer in here. What's up? Thanks for lurking. I look at my stats on these streams. It's like, you know what I mean. They're not the greatest. Not even close. You know what I mean. And I'm getting better. Personally, I feel like where my stream started, where it is now, it's definitely gotten better. But to be where I'm at now, it's so crazy. Because it's like, holy crap, I'm working on something that I wrote about. And even though I didn't quite know what it was, like now that I'm visually developing the world is just coming together like easily. Like it's all just like I could do anything and it's like, oh, this makes sense, that makes sense, this makes sense, that makes sense. It's because of all the planning, I guess, that went in beforehand. So it gives me a lot of inspiration because of what I'm doing in my Patreon notebook. It's like back to the basics of a few years ago, but now at least I get to do artwork as I do that writing and sketching and very loose idea stuff. By the time I get done working on this stuff is, the comic that I want to work on and publish, and right now it's just a self-publishing thing just because I don't know any publishers, and I wouldn't even know how to start. Like I'm trying to like link up, but either way, once I get into publishing them, however I do it, I'm gonna be ready. Like now I know, because this isn't the first time I'm doing it now. The first time I was doing it was when I started writing this stuff. And now that I'm sketching it out and rendering out these sketches and kind of really developing this world, it's like, oh, okay.